Tony Bellew versus Ilunga Makabu for the vacant WBC Cruiserweight World title is taking place tomorrow night. These are my final thoughts, part 2. And this also serves as a reaction video to the weigh-in. Now, Tony Bellew weighed in at 199.1 pounds. Makabu weighed in at 196.8 pounds. Both guys pretty comfortably inside the cruiserweight limit, particularly Makabu, who is the smaller man. And he's not just a smaller man in terms of weight, but he's also the smaller man in terms of height. In fact, Makabu is one of the smallest cruiserweights out there. He's a small guy. For a lot of his fights, he's weighed in close to 190 pounds. Now, obviously, the cruiserweight division is, apart from heavyweight, the biggest division in boxing in terms of the weight spectrum. As a cruiserweight, you can weigh anywhere between 176 pounds to 200 pounds. So there's a 24-pound spectrum of weight there, which is the biggest division other than heavyweight, which is from 200 pounds to unlimited, weigh as heavy as you want. So as I say, Makabu is definitely one of the smallest cruiserweights out there. In terms of his height, well, we know Bellew is about 6'2", 6'3". In terms of Makabu's height, it's not listed on his box rec, but to me, he looks about 5'10", 5'11", around there. Now, his last fight was against Tabiso Machunu, and Machunu is listed as 5'11". Let me tell you something, people. There is no way in hell that Tabiso Machunu is 5'11". That is straight fiction. Tabiso Machunu is about 5'8" at best. And for those of you who are saying, that's nonsense, Hatman, how can you have a 5'8" cruiserweight? Well, there was a guy called Dwight Muhammad Karwi back in the days who was about 5'6", and he was a cruiserweight. Fought Evander Holyfield. Look him up. Yeah, I'm telling you right now, Tabiso Machunu is about 5'7", 5'8". That's where he's at. And Makabu in that fight was a few inches taller than him. So yeah, I'd say Makabu's about 5'10", 5'11". So he's shorter than Bellew. He's naturally lighter than Bellew. That gives Bellew the height and reach advantage. In terms of, again, I've seen more people comparing how Bellew did against Stevenson to how he's going to do against Makabu. They say, well, Makabu's bigger than Stevenson, hits harder than Stevenson, therefore he's going to destroy Bellew just like Stevenson did, if not easier. Tell me what the similarities are between Adonis Stevenson's style and Ilunga Makabu's style. Apart from the fact they're both southpaws, there are no other similarities. Stevenson is much more elusive than Ilunga Makabu, much more elusive. Stevenson is a guy who specializes at long-range boxing. And I suspect Stevenson has got much longer arms than Makabu. Stevenson's got extraordinarily long arms for his height. Stevenson's about 5'11", 5'10", something like that. Similar height to Makabu, but his reach is 77. Right? That's not his arm length. I have to admit, I don't know his arm length, but his reach is 77 inches. For a guy that's only 5'11" to have a 77-inch reach, that's unusual. Just to put it in perspective, Tony Bellew is about 6'2", 6'3". His reach is only 74. You see, that's why even though Bellew was the taller guy against Stevenson, he wasn't able to compete with Stevenson at long range. He was trying to box on the back foot, but Stevenson's arms were too long. So he wasn't able to do it successfully. Stevenson was still able to reach him. Whereas here against Makabu, listen what I'm telling you, people. Bellew is going to have more success at long range. He's going to. He's going to have a lot more success against long range, a lot more success at long range against Makabu than he had against Stevenson, because the styles are totally different. Makabu is not a long range merchant. He's not as fast as Stevenson. He's not as elusive as Stevenson. Makabu's a guy who likes to get in close range and mid range, let the hooks go, the body shots and all the power shots. Okay, he's not a guy that's going to be, stepping left and right and flicking that southpaw jab and coming in with a long range sniper-like straight left hand. That's not Makabu's game. That's Stevenson's game. So these are two totally different fighters. And in terms of the punching power, again, people are saying that Makabu hits harder than Stevenson. What's that based on? Stevenson hits hard, people. Very hard. Stevenson knocks out heavyweights in the gym. Fact. So don't get it twisted and think that Stevenson, just because he's the weight division below, don't hit as hard as Makabu. Maybe he don't, but maybe he does. Trust me, it's not as clear cut as just this, that, or the other. Anyway, Let me move on to the opposition that both of these guys have fought. Tony Bellew overall has fought more high quality opponents, and they're not elite quality, but he's fought high quality opponents, and more of them, in my opinion, than Makabu's fought. He did fight Adonis Stevenson, obviously. He fought Isaac Chilemba, who's a difficult guy to fight. He's going to be fighting Sergey Kovalev soon. He fought Nathan Cleverly. He fought Masterneck. He's fought some pretty high level guys. Again, not elite, but pretty high level. You look at Makabu's record, and the only names you're going to really recognize on there are Glenn Johnson, who was washed up and old as hell, and Tabiso Machunu. Now, Machunu is better than anybody that Tony Bellew was fought. That's my opinion. I think Machunu was better than Stevenson. But in the Machunu fight, Makabu was having his head bounced around like a ping pong ball, like a basketball. His head was on a swivel in that fight in the early rounds. Machunu was lighting him up like a Christmas tree in those early rounds. Excuse me. So even though that was his best victory, Makabu knocking Machunu out, I think it had as much to do with Machunu not pacing the fight correctly as it did Makabu having a good engine, a lot of heart and toughness and power, and coming on late in the fight. I think had Machunu paced that fight better and not got so happy in the early rounds, it was just too easy for him early on. He was having a field day beating Makabu up, and he hurt Makabu, by the way. If you ain't seen that fight, he hurt Makabu in those early rounds. And Machunu was not a massive puncher, but he'll hurt you. If you stand in front of him and he hits you clean, he'll hurt you. He's no feather duster, man. Put it that way. He's not a cruiserweight version of Malignaggi. He does have a little bit of pop there, and he's very accurate, Machunu. That's the thing. He's very fast. In fact, Machunu is a complete beast, to be honest with you, in terms of his athleticism and his talent. He's an absolute beast. And for my money, definitely has the fastest hands of any cruiserweight. So, yeah, Makabu did beat him. He's stuck in there. He took the vicious beating that Machunu put on him in the early rounds, survived it, came on late, knocked the guy out. I think it was in the 10th or the 11th round. So congratulations to him. That was a year ago. He's been out the ring. Tony Bellew has been active. Okay? Bellew, on the other hand, has also been in tough fights, but he hasn't been getting beaten up the way that Makabu was beaten up in the early rounds against Machunu. Now, in terms of how these two styles are going to gel together, how they're going to match up, I've said this in part 1, and I'm going to say it again here in part 2. I think that Tony Bellew is going to have a lot more success boxing on the outside against Makabu than he did against Stevenson. Because Makabu is just not as good from long range as Stevenson is. No, he's not. So I think Bellew will have more success boxing long range, and I think that's what he's going to have to do, particularly early. He knows, him and Dave Coldwell know that Makabu is a slow starter. They know that Makabu's shorter than them. But that's a point right there. Makabu is shorter, and Makabu, unlike Stevenson, fights with his chin down and his hands up. So Bellew's going to have to be punching down at him. I think that that's going to make it a little difficult for Bellew to land clean on Makabu, particularly in the early rounds. I think Bellew's only going to land clean on this guy when Makabu starts opening up. And that probably won't be for the first few rounds. That's probably going to be more in the second half of the fight. And when he does start opening up, that's when it's going to get dangerous for Tony Bellew, because he is the taller guy. Bellew does have a habit of standing a bit too upright, and that could leave him vulnerable to Makabu's big power shots over the top. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting fight, but I'm going to make this prediction right here. I'm going to say that Tony Bellew by the 6th round is going to be ahead on the scorecards. That's what I'm saying right now. That's my prediction. Bellew's going to be ahead. What happens after that is what I'm unsure about. I don't know, because I'm sure that Makabu is going to rally late, because he's rallied late in so many fights. That just seems to be his his thing. He starts slow, he rallies late. I'm not sure whether Bellew can survive the late rally. I don't know. If he does survive it without going on the floor a number of times, he'll probably win the fight on points. So to me, this is my exact prediction, okay? And I'm going to sit on the fence. I know people don't like it when I sit on the fence, but that's being honest. When I pick a winner, it's when I have an inkling about who's going to win. If I don't have an inkling about who's going to win, why am I going to lie and pretend that I do? That's not honest. I'm being real by sitting on the fence, but I'll take my prediction this far. I'm saying Bellew's going to be ahead on the cards by the 6th round. After that, it's either going to be Bellew winning on points or it's going to be Makabu winning by late stoppage. That's my prediction. Now, Eddie Hearn is saying that he thinks his man Bellew is going to win by late stoppage. That could also happen, but I'm just giving you my opinion, and that's his promoter at the end of the day. He's going to pick his man to win. But from my neutral perspective, those are the 2 most likely scenarios, or the 3 most likely scenarios in my mind's eye when I look at this fight. I think Bellew, no matter who wins the fight, I think Bellew's going to be up after 6 rounds. And it can go either one or 2 ways. Either Bellew survives the late onslaught from Makabu and wins on points, or Bellew don't survive and Makabu stops him late. That's what I'm going for, people. All right? Drop your comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about this fight. Who do you think is going to win? How do you think the styles match up? Do you agree with me that Bellew is going to have more success at long range in this fight than he did against Adonis Stevenson? Or am I not giving Ilunga Makabu enough credit for his long range boxing skills? Maybe there's some fights out there which I haven't watched where Makabu shows his ability to fight Adonis Stevenson style, long range, like a sniper. Maybe those fights exist. I don't know. I haven't seen them. So let me know how you feel in the comment section below, people. Who you picking? What round is it going to be? How's this fight going to play out? Let me know. All right? It's your boy Hatman. And also, let me know what you think about the size of these fighters. Will that play a factor? Will the fact that Makabu's a shorter guy who comes down with his chin down, his hands up, will it make it difficult for Bellew to land clean on Makabu's chin the way I think it will? Particularly in the early rounds when Makabu is not throwing that many punches. All right? Let me know how you feel about everything I talked about in this video. It's your boy Hatman. I'm out, and I'll be back, obviously, with the post-fight video. So stay looked in for that, people. All right? It's your boy Hatman. We're gone.